Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, scandals in the White House. We go to our presidential historian. And Sharon Angle, no longer running for Assembly because she's running for Congress. Who's going to take her place? We have one of the candidates on the program today. Randi Thompson has the rundown.
We have Nevada's premier presidential historian, Clay Jenkinson, and Mike Dillon, a Republican running for the legislature in the southwest area from Reno up to Incline and to the North Valleys. It's a big district.
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Derek Morse, Lucille, Adin, and Mike Alonso. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, just 10 minutes east of Sparks, we are constructing a 16-mile expressway connecting I-80 to Highway 50. This expressway provides direct access and will make it much easier to get to work. A direct route for employment opportunities. From 100% fiber optics to clean, reliable power. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The resort at Red Hawk offers you two great dining choices. Experience David's Grill and Sports Bar or the Steakhouse at Red Hawk. The Steakhouse has received the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence based on a diverse selection of fine wines. To accompany the wines, the Steakhouse serves certified Angus beef steaks in a variety of cuts, fresh fish, chicken, and pasta dishes. For fun and casual dining, come to David's Grill and Sports Bar. David's is open 7 days a week, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The resort at Red Hawk. Always the right choice.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
With all the scandals in the White House, we decided it was time to bring in our presidential historian, Clay Jenkinson. Welcome to the program, Clay.
Always great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so what parallels do we see historically with the Scooter Libby indictments on perjury?
Well, the big question, I think, is Scooter Libby going to take the fall, or is he John Dean? I think that if he became John Dean and started to point to what I regard as probably a larger conspiracy in the executive branch, this could be very bad news for the Bush administration. But I think he's going to jump on his sword, and this will be the end of it.
It would certainly strike me as that way, seeing the loyalty of the people within the White House, and also the promotion of people who were his deputies into his position. That struck me as kind of a little odd. You would think that they would want to clean house and bring in some fresh blood.
Well, I was pleased that President Bush said that the members of the staff needed to take courses in ethics. You know, one would have hoped that would have happened a little bit sooner, but I think in all branches of government, people need to think about ethics. We often do things, especially when we're in power, that appear to be expedient at the moment, but we don't step back from them. And I do think, I'm not a Bush basher, I think that this was a relatively isolated incident within this administration.
Well, it's interesting, U.S. News and World Report had a blurb this week that kind of guided the Bush White House to say, do what Reagan did and clean house. And I don't know if Bush is going to go that route or not. But this isn't anything new. I mean, I don't want to stump you, but what was the first president that had indicted staff or staff that went to jail? I mean, this is kind of a standard operation, unfortunately, for a lot of presidents.
Well, I think in the 19th century there was a fair amount of this, but I believe that Scooter Libby is the first person that high up in an administration of the 20th and 21st centuries who has been indicted. It's bad business. I mean, we all think that there's a little bit of bad taste in our mouth about the way that this indictment was handed down, but the one rule that everyone needs to remember is when you're talking to the FBI or a grand jury, whatever else is true, you must tell the truth. And everybody makes the same mistake. President Clinton made that mistake. Members of the Nixon White House made that mistake. Oliver North made that mistake. It's it's a cliche, but it's not the crime, it's the cover-up that always winds up being the biting issue.
Yes, sir.
It was interesting. I think it was the New York Times the other day in an editorial that suggested that the vice president be given less power and should send him off to the traditional job of vice presidents, attending funerals. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound cynical, Sam, but I think if the vice president had less power, the presidency would have less power. This is a very important man, and I do believe that George Bush is a good, well-meaning man who is actively being president, but I think that he is more dependent on his key advisors than any president of my lifetime, and I do think that Dick Cheney plays a critically essential role in the Bush administration.
No, that's very true. He does. I mean, one of the reasons he was brought onto the ticket was to add some credibility, some
gravitas.
The age, yeah, exactly. So if we look at the scandals, we can't help but look at what happened yesterday with the elections. Now, both New Jersey and Virginia had Democrat governors beforehand, and they remained Democrat, and yet people are saying that this is a reflection on the Bush White House. Do you concur with that assessment that the role of the presidency really can impact state elections like this?
Well, I do believe that Tip O'Neill was right when he said that all politics are local. I wouldn't make too much of this too soon, but I do think, Randy, that there is a certain amount of weariness about the Republican presidencies that we've had for the last two terms, and then, of course, on the other side of President Clinton. I think the country is upset, and I think whatever your politics, people feel that our handling of Katrina was not good, that the war has soured in some important ways, that this administration has been a spending administration in a way that really stretches the concept of fiscal conservatism and the Republican traditional attitude towards fiscal matters. I think that there's a widespread low-level discontentment around President Bush's base has stayed loyal to him. I think that's a good sign for him. But I do think that everybody feels this presidency has slipped into mediocrity, and I do believe that's going to tell in the political races, not only of yesterday, but of the next couple of years.
Well, that brings up an interesting point to me. Tom Friedman, a few weeks ago, suggested in his column in the New York Times that what this president needs to do is come up with a major program going into the future, like Kennedy did with the space program, and his suggestion was that the president should take getting America off oil dependency as his big thing for the future to encourage new generations of scientists and engineers. What do you make of that?
I think that would be marvelous. I wish President Clinton had done it. I wish President Bush the first had done it. We needed to have done this at least since 1973. Now we've put ourselves in a terrible hole. And for anyone who's listening, I strongly urge you to read two books, The End of Oil and a book called The Long Emergency. And both of them point to the coming permanent energy crisis. If President Bush did that, it would be a great act of statesmanship. Unfortunately, I do believe that President Bush and Dick Cheney and the people around them are pretty tightly tied with the traditional energy delivery industry, and that it would be quite difficult politically for him to detach himself from the base that has elected him. But if he did it, I would regard it as one of the great moments of my lifetime. Okay, about a 30-second response here, if you would. Sure.
Senator Reid's using of the obscure rule to put the Senate into a closed-door hearing. What do you think of that?
I don't, Thomas Jefferson, my hero, wrote the Senate Manual of Parliamentary Procedure, and I suppose that it's acceptable in some limited technical sense, but even I, as someone who is pretty fond of Senator Reid, looked on it as a kind of a cheap shot. It just shows the deep frustration that the Democrats feel, having been essentially excluded from power now for at least the last 6 years. But I think that it was not cricket.
Very well put there, sir. Clay Jenkinson's latest book is called Becoming Jefferson's People. You can find details on it on our website at NevadaNewsmakers.com. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Clay.
It's great to talk with you.
Thanks,
we'll
Clay.
be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
For For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seem to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? They do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, welcome to the program. Mike Dillon, he is the grandson of Barbara Vukanovich, our former congresswoman and regular on this program, and he is running for Assembly District 26, district currently occupied by Sharon Engel, who's going to be running for Congress. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, you do have more of an identity than just Barbara's grandson. What is it? What are your experiences that you feel qualify you to run for the legislature? The guys that make all the laws that dictate everything from commerce to how we live our daily life in Nevada. What kind of qualifies you for?
I'm a lifelong Nevadan, and I've grown up here. I've gone to educate. I've been educated in public schools here from kindergarten through high school. Attended the University of Nevada and was very involved there. I have a strong background in education. I was a former teacher at McQueen High School and a coach there. I am an insurance broker, health insurance broker, which is a critical issue facing not only the state of Nevada but the nation. And that's a unique background, I think. I'm a pro-business person. The legislature right now needs some strong people from northern Nevada to represent them. And I'm looking forward to serving the people of the state of Nevada.
Okay, and you also work with the Builders Association of Northern Nevada as their government relations representative, correct?
I am their community relations director, and that's another unique benefit I think that I bring to the table, is that I've been down in Carson City. I know how the process works, and I think I can hit the ground running and effectively represent the people of Northern Nevada.
Okay, what do you think about this whole initiative petition situation we have in the Silver State? Do you like that way of government? You know, obviously it's legal,
right.
Or does that make you uncomfortable?
Well, it's the rules that we live under, and I think that Nevada has really caught on to what has happened in the state of California. I can tell you, you know, just as a Republican, I look to the Republican values that most people do of less taxes, cutting spending, less government, and those are a lot of the issues that I think you're going to see on those petitions when they're all out officially. Okay, well, let's ask you about a couple of specific ones. How about TASK, the Nevada form of TABOR that is being circulated? All right. Well, I think the one issue that again that talks about cutting spending, and I think you'll see at the state legislature that we've been totally out of control in our spending down there. If the governor would not have threatened to veto, I guarantee that the money would have been spent down there. And you're going to see another surplus, probably about the same amount, $800, $900 million, and we're just collecting too much money. So I'm waiting to see how it comes out. I think the one factor that'll come into that is that there will be a rainy day fund as a portion of that, and I think Nevadans are looking for some tax relief and spending control.
Okay, but are you in favor of taper?
Well, I think I'll be in favor of the task if it comes out with the sidebar that there's a control for a rainy day fund.
How about the property tax cap?
The property tax, yeah, that's another one that, as you know, I mean, there was some relief done down at the legislature, but I think there could be a lot more done. And there's a lot of people that have seen major increases in their property tax because of the value of homes gone up in this community, and I would be supportive of that.
Okay. What are the 3 things you would like to see done as a legislator? What do you want to do down there?
Well, I think my background in health insurance is a critical issue. I mean, we have 60 to 80 million people that are uninsured in the nation, and that is something that we really need to address, and I think Nevada has the opportunity to be a model state for that. We have some major reform that could be done as far as mandates that are brought forward, and those just force costs to go up. And I think as a person who is a business owner and who represents a lot of business owners, and providing working families health care is critical, and I think that would be the thing that I would want to champion when I go down to the legislature.
Sharon Angle has been, on the extremes as far as taxes are concerned. Do you put yourself in her mold, or are you a little bit more moderate?
Well, Sharon has a great following, and she's represented the district very well. I'm definitely not Sharon Angle. I'm a different person.
Couldn't pass the physical.
So I look forward to, I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. I'm definitely a fiscal conservative. If you look at what's going on down there right now, we're just collecting too much money, and we need to put some controls on the spending and the amount of money that we're collecting.
Would you have supported the 2003 tax increase that was
Absolutely
passed?
not.
Okay.
No.
So that puts him in the Sharon side,
To say the least. Do you look at state government and say that it's too fat right now? I mean, certainly the governor would say to you that education, still needs a lot of money to be spent on it. We have infrastructure problems in terms of roads. We have a huge deficit in that area. And I'm not sure that the public is going to take too kindly to increase gas taxes at this point. How do you balance this out?
Well, the gas tax is a good, you're not going to see any new increase in taxes again down at the legislature because of the surplus. I think we need to, I think the numbers that keep getting thrown around are down in Clark County is how much money that they have in their coffers, and I think that's something to be considered. But education is is probably the #1 issue for the legislature, and I have a background in education. I was a teacher at McQueen. I serve on the Education Collaborative, and there's a lot of things that I think you could see. I mean, we have people and students that we're not helping with vocational education. Is our colleges producing the workforce that we need to bring in great companies here that are high-paying jobs? I don't know. Those are issues that we need to address, and I think I bring an insight to education as someone who attended schools here in the public in Washoe County, and somebody who is taught in the public schools here.
Well, we will look forward to having more conversations with you as we head towards the election. Mike Dillon, thanks very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
This is one of Sierra Power's main generating plants. It's right next door to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. These plants provide all the clean, reliable power that businesses need. TRI has 3 independent power generation facilities on site. For sensitive manufacturing companies and high-tech firms, this benefit is invaluable. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The Nevada Beer Wholesalers encourages the responsible consumption of beer. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association are sponsors and participants in many community-based efforts such as school education programs, safe ride home, recycling programs, alcohol-free after-prom and graduation parties, safe voting campaigns, and designated driver programs. They are family-owned businesses employing 2,000 Nevadans. They also collect and pay the state excise tax. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association, delivering more than just beer.
The resort at Red Hawk offers you two great dining choices. Experience David's Grill and Sports Bar or the Steakhouse at Red Hawk. The Steakhouse has received the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence based on a diverse selection of fine wines. To accompany the wines, the Steakhouse serves certified Angus beef steaks in a variety of cuts, fresh fish, chicken, and pasta dishes. For fun and casual dining, come to David's Grill and Sports Bar. David's is open 7 days a week, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The resort at Red Hawk. Always the right choice.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, I just want to start off with a personal rant here because
What a surprise.
The Las Vegas Sun, is now rolled into the Las Vegas Review-Journal, has become a morning newspaper, has multiplied its circulation by about 5 times. It also has a website that a lot of us who are not able to subscribe to the Sun and get the paper that same day, go to the website to read. Update it in the morning, people. We can't go there.
It is bad.
You read the Review-Journal and get your news there, and then you go to the Las Vegas Sun's page, and there's no news up there. I think like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody goes, "Oh, it's time to wake up and put today's news in there." It's like
well,
the scoop.
It's an afternoon paper, right?
No, not anymore. It's a morning paper. But I mean, they're waiting for the scoop that never comes. So please get somebody in there early so we can all read the paper. Okay, I'm done. Let's our pundit panel today. Well, I'm tired of it. It's been 2 weeks now. Mike Alonso is here with Jones Vargas. Lucille Adin is the president of the Reno Sparks NAACP, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Lucille.
Thank you,
and
Shad.
Derek Morse is with the RTC and a lobbyist and an opinionated person too.
Just a tad.
I'll let you go.
Well, I don't know. Obviously, the elections yesterday, the one that kind of surprised me the most was the school board in Dover, Pennsylvania, was totally overturned. And this was a school board that actually had adopted intelligent design, creationism in the classroom, and they all got ousted. Now, Pennsylvania is not exactly this liberal state, but are you surprised at all by these kind of local election results on not allowing intelligent design in the classroom? I know. See, I'm like Sam. I pulled out something out totally out of left field, but it surprised me.
Probably the most surprising thing is that you are watching the election results of a school board in Dover.
It was on the New York Times website.
But there were a couple of elections that were talked about in the news in which these issues came up. Some of them went the other way. I think over time people will look at that and they'll decide locally what they want to do. But I think one of the big issues is going to be, are we teaching our kids what they need to be prepared to compete in our society and everything else? And I think more and more people will look at that, because if you start talking about things that are non-scientific in one area, why not introduce the idea that there's something non-scientific in some other area? Let's rewrite history. Let's do all these other types of things. And does that really serve our young people well when they get that type of education?
I think we could look to some role models, North Korea being one. That this doesn't really work out very well.
Not all the time.
Mike, in looking at the election results, it looks like the Democrats did very well out of this. Do you think it was more a subject of the amount of money being spent in these races, especially in New Jersey, rather than the fact that the Democrats are doing better because the president is suffering?
Probably a combination of both, Sam. I mean, a lot of money was spent, but I think right now the Republicans are not doing so well, and it's rubbing off, and it could be something that we're going to see in the next couple of election cycles. These things always go in cycles, and we seem to be going that way unless the president can turn it around.
Lucille, do you think that we could see changes in the U.S. Senate and in the House in terms of where the power lies in the next couple of elections?
I think so, because of what's happening with the war and what's happening in the White House now. I think there will be a lot of changes.
Okay, let's change subjects.
Well, I'd like to say that there wasn't that much change in New Jersey and Virginia. I mean, Corzine spent $100 million over the past 5 years to essentially create a role where he can be the autocrat that he is. So, in looking at both Virginia and New Jersey stayed Democrat. So I can't really sit there and like Clay said a little earlier, you can't really tell until after there's a good review and the polling and stuff. But while the Democrats did well, it was more, I think, much more based on the local issues. And when you spend $100 million, you should win something.
Interesting. and what a lovely slugfest that was in
yes, that was pretty ugly.
New Jersey.
Yes.
As far as California goes with initiative petitions, 3 of the 4 that Schwarzenegger was pushing went down in flames. How do you think that bodes for the Silver State?
Well, I'm not sure how it bodes for the Silver State. I think Schwarzenegger is in big trouble, and I think he put a lot into this, and he took a big risk, and he was already on the downhill slide, and he's lost, and it's not good for him. I don't know how it bodes for the Silver State. I think California is going to continue to make bad policy, and people are still going to come to Nevada, and so I don't know that it's good or bad for the economy here. I think it's good. People are still going to turn to Nevada because it's a good place to be, and the quality of life is great. So.
Well, he took on the unions, and the unions won. I mean, they got their voters out, and I agree with Mike. I think you're going to see a lot more folks going, okay, forget this, I'm going to Nevada, because he's trying to make changes that will keep California competitive.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, looking at it from the bigger perspective, California is continuing a horrible tradition that unfortunately we're starting to emulate of initiative petitions, special elections, this kind of stuff. You know, we elect leaders to make decisions, to do thoughtful things, and then what purposes they were going out and tying their hands, taking away any authority, any discretion from them, initiative after initiative. You know, we have a chance every couple of years to vote the rascals out if they're not doing a good job. That should be enough. And the expense, $55 million for a special election in California. And what could you do with $55 million? It's a drop in the bucket there, but you know, you could fix highways, you could fix schools. There's any number of things you could do, and that these issues have to be brought forward in that manner where you bypass really the elected officials who are representatives supposedly of the people. It just does not bode well, and unfortunately we're going to see that here. We see more and more of these initiative petition types of things, and it's a terrible trend, I think, in government.
Okay, just one last thing. I want to get Lucille's opinion on this. Looking at the problems in France right now, the government there seems to have been so slow to react, and yet it doesn't appear to be, you know, when we were slow to react with Katrina, there was a huge hullabaloo about the government. It doesn't seem to be the same there in France.
No, I think it's completely different because of the people that was involved with Katrina. I think that's why it made such a big impact on the late reaction.
But it's you know, it's more you know, for the late night comics at this point. The jokes are flying about you know, that if they send in the French army, they would surrender to the protesters. Maybe it's time to have Germany come in and fix this. I mean, humor should not be the way that we deal with a very ugly political situation.
I think you should put that in perspective, though. What we see is the news coverage that, of course, there's a camera in every protester's face. Katrina, the hurricanes that we suffered impacted literally millions of people. We're not talking about millions of people in France being impacted. I think we're seeing a very skewed version of that, and I think that we need to have that perspective, and unfortunately we're not getting this country, not to diminish the seriousness of what's being protested, but to compare that to our experience with Katrina and the number of people impacted and the basic that they are just without anything, many of those people. That's really, I think, quite a stretch.
And that's where we got to leave it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers online at NevadaNewsmakers.com. Coming up tomorrow, State Senator Randolph Townsend. See you then.